Life in the crowded city was fast, noisy, and unforgiving. Among the millions trying to survive was Mira, a young woman working long hours at a textile shop. Her days were repetitive: wake before sunrise, ride the packed bus, stitch until her back ached, and return home exhausted. Though she smiled for her family, inside she felt empty. She had dreams of becoming a teacher, of changing lives, of doing something meaningful. But poverty, constant criticism, and self-doubt chained her down. Often, she whispered to herself, "Maybe life is only meant for surviving. Maybe my dreams are too big." One evening, while waiting for the bus in the rain, she overheard two women talking about a community gathering, where a motivational speaker was sharing about faith and perseverance. Out of curiosity, Mira attended. The hall was small, filled with ordinary people. The speaker, an elderly woman with a calm smile, said something that struck deep. Faith is not just hope. Faith is energy. When you act on faith, life responds in ways you cannot yet see. Mira's heart raced. Could faith really be an energy? Could unseen belief really fuel action? The next morning, Mira woke up earlier than usual. She took out her old, torn notebook where she had once written her childhood dream. "I want to teach." With trembling hands, she wrote again, "I will teach. I will learn. I will not give up." It felt silly at first, but she decided to act. She used her lunch breaks to study English grammar from borrowed books. She practiced speaking to herself in the mirror. Her co-workers laughed. "Mira, stop wasting time. You're stuck here with us." But faith whispered louder, "Keep going." Weeks turned into months. Mira saved small amounts of money, skipping tea breaks, walking instead of taking the bus. With determination, she enrolled in a night class for adult education. It was exhausting: long shifts, late classes, little sleep. Many nights she almost quit. But every time, she remembered the words, "Faith is energy." And indeed, she felt it. Despite fatigue, she found strength. Despite doubt, she found courage. Slowly, her confidence grew. She spoke clearer, wrote better, and even helped classmates who struggled. When a local NGO visited her class looking for volunteers to teach children in slums, Mira hesitated. Her heart said yes, but fear screamed no. Still, she chose faith over fear. The first day she stood before the children, her voice shook. But as she taught them letters and numbers, their eager eyes lit up. For the first time in her life, Mira felt alive. "This is my purpose. This is my calling." Word spread of her dedication. Soon, the NGO offered her a small stipend. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep her going. Years passed. Mira's small acts of faith multiplied. What began with borrowed books and broken notebooks turned into classrooms filled with children whose lives she touched. One day, she was invited to speak at a women's empowerment event. Standing on the stage, dressed simply but glowing with confidence, she told her story. "I had nothing but faith. No money, no power, no support. But faith is hidden energy. When you act on it, it moves mountains inside you. And around you." The audience, many of them women, who had also been told their dreams were too big, wept and applauded. Mira became more than a teacher, she became a light. Her journey showed that faith wasn't about waiting for miracles. It was about creating them, step by step, with courage fueled by unseen strength. She ended her speech with these words: "Do not wait for the world to give you permission. Do not wait for the perfect chance. Take the smallest step with faith, and you'll discover the hidden energy that was within you all along." And with that, her life became proof that the energy of faith in action can transform impossible into possible. Faith is not passive, it's active energy. When combined with consistent action, it creates momentum strong enough to change your life and inspire others. There is a strength that doesn't shout, doesn't boast, and doesn't always show in muscles or money. It is not measured by the weight you lift, or the trophies you win. It is measured by how you stand when life knocks you down. That strength is faith. Faith is hidden, invisible to the eye, but unshakable in the soul. It is the courage to take the next step when you cannot see the road ahead. This is the story of Arjun, a boy from humble beginnings, who discovered the hidden strength within faith, and how it carried him through storms that should have broken him. Arjun grew up in a small mountain village. Life was simple but harsh. Winters were bitter, food was scarce, and opportunities almost non-existent. His father worked as a porter, carrying heavy loads for tourists, while his mother sold herbs collected from the forest. Their dream was simple: to give Arjun a chance at education, a chance they never had. But poverty was a chain around their ankles. Arjun often studied by candlelight, hungry but determined. His dream: to become an engineer, to build bridges and roads that could connect his isolated village to the outside world. When he shared this dream, people laughed. "Arjun, kids like you don't become engineers. Better learn farming, or you'll starve." Even his teacher once said, "Your faith is admirable, but dreams require money. And money, my boy, you don't have." That night, Arjun whispered to himself, "I may not have money, but I have faith. And faith is stronger than fear." At 13, tragedy struck. Arjun's father slipped during work, injuring his spine. He could no longer carry loads. Overnight, the family lost its only steady income. His mother wept, wondering how they would eat. Neighbors pitied them. Some said Arjun should quit school and work as a laborer. But Arjun remembered his father's weak, trembling words: "Son, don't give up your studies. If my body is broken, let your faith be stronger." From that day, Arjun worked mornings in the fields, evenings at odd jobs, and studied at night. Every step was powered not by strength of body, but by strength of faith. High school years were the hardest. Arjun had no proper shoes, sometimes no lunch, yet he never missed a day of class. He borrowed old books, copied notes by hand, and walked miles to school. When exams came, his classmates had tutors, while Arjun had faith. He scored among the top in his district. But university fees were mountains too high. His mother cried, convinced the dream was over. Arjun told her ma, "Faith is like a seed. It may look small, but one day, it grows into a tree that feeds many. I will not stop." He applied for scholarships, though thousands competed. People said it was hopeless. But Arjun believed. Weeks later, a letter arrived. Arjun opened it with shaking hands. He had won a full government scholarship. Tuition, hostel, even a stipend for living expenses. His mother fell to her knees in gratitude. His father, though weak, wept silently. Faith had carried them through the impossible. But the journey was only beginning. University was a new battlefield. Students came from wealthy families, fluent in English, confident in ways Arjun was not. He felt small, out of place. Professors underestimated him. Classmates ignored him. Nights were long and lonely. Sometimes he thought of quitting. But whenever despair crept in, he remembered his father's words. Let your faith be stronger than your fear. So he studied harder, spending nights in the library, asking questions, solving problems tirelessly. Slowly, he rose. First in exams, then in recognition. In his final year, disaster struck again. His village was hit by landslides. Homes destroyed. Families broken. Arjun rushed back. Seeing his people suffering, he felt powerless. But then he realized this was his moment. His faith had not carried him this far for himself. It was for them. He organized relief camps, used his engineering knowledge to design temporary shelters, and convinced NGOs to help rebuild the village. His people, once doubting him, now called him their pillar of faith. Arjun graduated with honors. Job offers came from big cities, with salaries beyond his imagination. But he chose differently. He returned home. With government grants and donations, he built roads, schools, and clean water systems. He used his education not for luxury, but for service. When asked why he turned down wealth, he smiled. Because faith was never about lifting myself alone. It was about lifting others with me. Years later, children in Arjun's village walked across bridges he designed, studied in schools he built, drank clean water from wells he dug. They no longer said, "It's impossible." They said, "If Arjun could, we can too." The faith had not only transformed one boy, it had transformed an entire generation. Lessons from Arjun's journey. Faith is not weakness. It is the hidden strength that carries you when your body is broken. Faith doesn't eliminate obstacles. It gives you courage to climb them. Faith grows through trials. Every setback is a test that strengthens your spirit. True faith is not selfish. It lifts others as it lifts you. The hidden strength within faith can build bridges, heal wounds, and inspire legacies. So, when life whispers, "You can't," remember Arjun's story. Remember that your strength is not just in your muscles, money, or mind. Your true strength is hidden deeper, inside your faith. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and say to yourself, "My faith is my hidden strength. With it, I am unbreakable." And then, take the next step forward. Because faith will carry you where fear cannot. The human mind is wired to believe in what it sees, touches, or measures. But the greatest achievements in history were born from believing in the unbelievable. The airplane was once called madness. Electricity was once seen as witchcraft. Dreamers were once mocked before they became legends. This is the story of Lena, a young girl who dared to believe in what everyone else dismissed as impossible, and how her belief turned the unbelievable into reality. Lena was born in a mountain village where survival was the only dream. People woke up to work in the fields, not to chase ambitions. Her father was a shepherd, her mother a seamstress. They were kind but practical. Their words often repeated the same theme. Why are simple people? Lena. Don't dream too high, or you'll fall too far. But Lena dreamed differently. She wanted to become a pilot. She wanted to fly beyond the mountains and touch the skies. Whenever she said this, laughter followed. A girl from this village flying a plane. Unbelievable. Your wings are only in your imagination. Stay on the ground where you belong. But Lena whispered to herself every night, the unbelievable is only unbelievable until it's done. Her inspiration came from an old, tattered book she found in her school library. A biography of the Wright brothers. She read about how people mocked them, called their dream insane, yet they changed the world. That day, Lena decided, if they could believe in the unbelievable, so can I. At 14, Lena faced her first test. She told her teacher about her dream. He smiled kindly but said, Lena, even if you pass your exams, flying school costs a fortune. Girls like you should choose safer paths. Be a teacher, maybe a nurse. But a pilot? That's beyond impossible. Those words pierced her heart. For days, she almost gave up. But then she remembered, faith in the unbelievable means walking where others see no road. So she studied harder. She topped her district in exams, but grades were not enough. Flying school required not only money, but also confidence, English fluency, and connections. Things Lena had none of. Her parents begged her to give up. But Lena said, I don't need to see the whole staircase. I just need to take the first step. She applied for dozens of scholarships. Rejections poured in. But she refused to stop. Finally, one small foundation awarded her a partial scholarship. It wasn't enough, but it was a spark to cover the rest of the fees. Lena worked endless part-time jobs tutoring kids, sewing clothes, even working as a cleaner. Her friends mocked her. You think sweeping floors will buy you a seat in the sky? Unbelievable. But Lena smiled, yes. Unbelievable. But not impossible. Flight school was tougher than she imagined. Her classmates had rich families and private tutors. She struggled with English. Often misunderstood instructions. Some instructors openly doubted her. One even said, You'll never pass the simulator test. You're wasting your time. Lena cried that night. But in the morning, she stood taller and whispered, Every unbelievable dream looks like failure halfway through. She practiced harder than anyone, spending hours in the simulator, reading manuals, memorizing every detail. Finally, the day came for her first solo flight. As the plane lifted off, Lena's hands trembled. She remembered every laugh, every insult, every doubt. But as she soared above the clouds, she cried tears of victory. The unbelievable had just become her reality. But life wasn't done testing her. During her training years, Lena faced a near tragedy. On a practice flight, a mechanical failure forced her into an emergency landing. The plane was damaged. She survived, but fear scarred her heart. Whispers spread. She's unlucky. Maybe flying isn't for her. She should quit before she kills herself. For weeks, Lena couldn't step into a cockpit. She doubted herself. But then she remembered, to believe in the unbelievable means to rise after every fall. Slowly, she returned. Step by step, flight by flight. Years later, Lena not only completed her training, she became one of the youngest female pilots in her country. She flew across continents, inspiring girls from small villages to believe in their impossible dreams. When reporters asked her the secret of her success, she smiled and said, "Lena didn't stop at her own success. She created a scholarship fund for girls from rural areas who dreamed of aviation." Every year, she returned to her village, standing before children who once mocked her, saying, "The sky is not far. It only looks far until you believe you can reach it." Lessons from Lena's journey. The unbelievable becomes possible through persistence. Every laugh, every doubt, every rejection is fuel for your faith. The road to the unbelievable is filled with storms, but storms build stronger wings. When you believe, you don't just change your life, you change the lives of those who follow. Faith in the unbelievable is not madness. It is the birthplace of miracles. So, whenever your dream seems too big, too crazy, too unbelievable, remember Lena. Remember that the world only calls it unbelievable until someone proves it true. Close your eyes, take a breath, and say to yourself, "I believe in the unbelievable. And one day, the unbelievable will believe in me." Then take the next step, because the sky is waiting.